Hi, my name is Alan from TheGreenAge, and today I'm going to talk you through how we do an EPC, what sort of things that you should expect as a customer when we come to your property, and each of the stages of the job, and maybe a little bit on how it affects the rating of the property as well. When we first turn up at the door, we'll show you the ID. This ID is quite old and battered because I've been using it for quite a while, but it has very simply has my name and my accreditation on here. And we're accredited with Stroma, who are an accreditation body for EPCs. And if you've got any concerns at all, it will have a contact number on there that you can ring and check that we're the real deal. Okay. Then once we're in, we'll just quickly run through what we're going to do in the property. Hopefully this video is going to show you pretty much what we're going to do anyway. Just to fill you in, probably the most important thing for you to know is that we do need to take some photos as we go around. This is purely for auditing, so we'll be focusing on specific things that we need to show our auditors to show that we've done the job properly. Okay, so don't be alarmed, we're going to take photos of windows, doors, light fittings, all sorts of bits and pieces as we go around the property, and that's perfectly normal. One of the first things we do is we check the type of construction on the building. Okay, so on a property like this is a typical Victorian terrace. We're looking for solid walls, things like external wall insulation might have been retrofitted onto the property, and one of the things we do is we'll check the wall thickness. Okay, so it's really simple. You get to the wall here and we'll just take a measurement across of how wide the wall is. We can see here this is really quite wide, so and also we can do a quick tap test as well. If we knock on the wall there, you can see that that's hollow, which really suggests external wall insulation. So things like that we're looking for to see whether the property is insulated, and obviously that's going to have a knock-on impact on your energy rating as well. It can be quite tricky to tell exactly how much insulation you've got. So with a property like this with external insulation, we'd ask you to produce any sort of certification that you've got on the installation, so we know exactly how much insulation has been put on, what the U value of that insulation is, and then from that you're going to get a much more accurate EPC. If you have a cavity wall property, which obviously isn't, we'd be checking the wall to see if it's been insulated at all. So we'd be looking for drill points in between the mortar, and also checking the thickness as well to see how wide the wall is. Now we're upstairs in the roof room in the property. This property doesn't actually have a loft space as such, because it's had a loft conversion. Just to let you know, if we were in a property with a loft space, we do ask to make sure you have access to the loft hatch, and we can easily get up there to access it, because measuring the depth of the insulation is really, really important for your final EPC rating. As it is, we're here in the roof room. So one of the things that we do when we're in a roof room is we'll look for these crawl spaces at the side of the room, and we'll look in there to see if there's any evidence of insulation. Unfortunately, in this one, it's all been completely sealed off. The good news is, because it was all built in the last couple of years, we've actually got documentary evidence to show that there's insulation in the property. So as it is, we'll just take some photos here to show that it's not accessible, we can't see the insulation that's present, and then everything else will be done in the office when we get back. Another really important part of your EPC is going to be checking the heating system. So we're looking for what type of heating you have, whether it be gas, electric, or renewable. We're looking at how the heat is pushed around the house, whether it be through radiators or underfloor heating or another way. And in this property here, we've got a gas boiler. So if you come here, what we'll be doing on the EPC is just opening the front cover there and checking for the model. So you'll see here, this is an Ecotech Plus 630, so that's what we'd be noting down on the EPC. So it's as simple as that. We don't need to take the cover off the boiler or do any sort of work to it. It's just simply reading off the model number. In this property here, we have a combination of radiators upstairs and underfloor heating downstairs. So if we look here, we can see the underfloor manifold with controls here that let you control each room and individual temperatures. Upstairs, we can see here we've got a radiator with a thermostatic valve. Okay, so we're really looking at the heating controls here to see whether you've got thermostatic valves in all the rooms, whether you've got that ability to control the temperature in different areas of the house. One other part of the heating system, this customer is very fortunate. He's got a zonal heating control, which means that he's got one of these thermostatic programmers in every room in the property. The great thing about that is that you can individually control that room's temperature and the time that the heating comes on and off. So obviously that's going to give him a bit of a boost on the EPC rating. So another part of the heating system here is the hot water cylinder. So all we're doing here is we're looking for the size of the cylinder, any insulation that's present in the cylinder, which is often quite difficult to find unless we have the manufacturer's documentation. And we're also looking to see if it has a cylinder thermostat. So the cylinder thermostat is this little device here, and it just lets you control the temperature of your hot water. Okay. And that's it with the hot water. That's all we're recording. So that's the heating done. The next thing we're going to look at is the glazing in the property, whether it's single glazed, double glazed, triple glazed, or any variation thereof. So if we focus in on the window here, we can see that this is just a nice sash window. It's wooden double glazing. If it was PVC, what we'd be looking for is the thickness of the glazing gap here. Okay, so a wider gap generally means it's a more efficient window, and that will be factored into the EPC. As it is, they just go into our software as a wooden double glazing. Okay, so one thing we will be doing is we take a photo for evidence just to show the type of window, and that's something you shouldn't be worried about. We're just taking a photo to show that glazing gap. Now we're just in one of the bathrooms in the property. The only thing we're looking at with bathrooms is how many showers you've got and how many baths you have. So it would just be a simple case of just taking a few photos of the bath and the shower. As you can see here, we've got an individual bath and shower in the room. That is all we're looking for with baths and showers. One other thing that we'll be looking for in the property is the lighting. So lighting has a small but noticeable impact on the EPC rating. So we'll be looking to see whether you've got energy efficient lights or old-fashioned halogen lights. In this property here, there's lots of spotlights. And as you can see, if you look at the light itself, you can see this is an LED light rather than a halogen. So it's the same all across the property, but what we do in a property where there's lots of different types of lighting, we take a look and divide that up between the rooms and apportion it in the software. So we'll be going around looking at the different lights and what you have in the property, and they will get totaled up. One more thing we have to do in the EPC is just to check your gas and electric meters. Okay, so the electric meter is down here in the basement, rather conveniently, and what we're looking for here is just whether it's a single meter or a dual meter, and it's a very simple thing that gets put into the software. It's mostly just to show that we've actually visited the property when we get audited. Okay, same for the gas meter. We just make a recording to show that there's gas in the property and to prove that. Like many properties in London, this one doesn't actually have any renewable technology, no wind turbine, no solar thermal, no solar PV. But if it did have that, we'd obviously be looking out for that. We'd be taking some evidence of it, and we'd be asking the customer for any documentation they have on the system. It's very difficult for us to get up on the roof and measure the exact size and dimensions of the panels in a 30-minute survey. So what we do is we'd ask the customer to provide any information they've got. The MCS certificate is ideal, and that will have the size of the system, all the specs that we need to put into the software and give you a really accurate EPC. One of the most time-consuming parts of doing an EPC is doing the floor plan. So this is a much more simple floor plan than, say, an estate agent would do when they're selling a property. This is really simple. We just measure up the floor space for each floor, and it'll be divided up somewhat depending on the types of construction in the building. Okay, so it's very simple. We'll get a laser measure like this. We'll put it up against one side of the property, and it will shine a laser on the other side of the wall, which we can pick up there, and we'll take a measurement reading. Okay, so there'll be a measurement come up on here, and we'll write that down. Okay, so all that goes into a floor plan, which we then work out areas and heat loss walls. So those are the walls that are exposed to the outside elements in which you're losing heat through. So it's a pretty simple floor plan. This will usually take 10-15 minutes in an average property like this. That whole process should take around half an hour or so for the average property. and once all the evidence has been collected, all the measurements made, the assessor will go back and put together all of that information into a software package, and usually your EPC will be turned around within a few days for the average assessor. I hope you found the video informative. If you'd like to find out any more information about EPCs, you can visit the TheGreenAge website, thegreenage.co.uk, and we'll be happy to help.